Hello, welcome to today's Global Voice podcast by the International Student Services. And today we're welcoming two guests, Erika and Abby. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Erika Parrish. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I am a political science major. I also have a minor in agriculture and social sciences, and I am a junior.
Hi, my name is Abbie Moody. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm currently majoring in social work, and yeah.
How did you combine your major in political science and agriculture as minor? What motivates you in that decision?
Yeah, so it actually took me a couple tries, about like 4 times changing my major to kind of, figure out like what I do, like enjoy doing and what I don't enjoy doing. I started off in agriculture because I grew up in the South, so I had a lot of family members who owned like farms and horses and stuff. But then I kind of switched to like the business side, and then I realized, agriculture isn't something I really want to do, but I like looking into like the policies that affect like international agriculture. So then I decided to switch to political science, and now I'm pursuing a law degree.
That's awesome. A lot of degree there. What are we talking about today? Gender roles. Well, what are the reasons behind that you guys are interested in the topic? Because it is something that not many people talk about. People always talk about social media, their relationship, and then where they like to travel, what they like to eat. But why is gender role important?
Yeah, so I think it's really like different countries and different regions and stuff, because we all have our like standard of what a man should be and what a woman should be. So I think the Western society has really like kind of set the standard globally, especially because of like social media and how popular like the music industry is and stuff. But I've kind of just like looked into it a lot because just like the trends and stuff that are kind of like picking up, it's a little concerning looking at the different things that are pushing like our younger girls and like teenagers to, like follow and stuff. Yeah.
That's great. How about you, Abby?
I think that there's different variations across the world on what marriage means. I think that typically it's the men and the women stay together. It's just one man and woman. But there's also different countries that believe in different things, like multiple wives and things like that. Personally, in my opinion, I'm very old-fashioned. One man, one woman, stay together, do that to us part. But people, don't believe in that anymore, which is sad. It's sad to see the world like that. Love is the most important thing. It gets you through all.
I love it. Love is the most important thing. And so, in the environment like that, how do you see college students or younger teenagers should navigate through all the cultures and then different perspective of marriage and things like that?
Definitely. This is like a tough question. I'd like to go back and really say it's about how you're raised and the values, kind of the belief systems that like your parents instill in you. I think that's really just the driving force of what like students, especially college students, should be like looking back to as guidance. And so I think a lot of, social media has been kind of the largest influence, especially for younger girls and younger boys and especially college students. I think it's started to get us distracted on like our education and things. So now we're kind of focusing on like enjoying life outside of school, which is also good. But I think we've lost like the foundation of how important education is, because now it's so easy to be famous. It's so easy to have a lot of money.
Okay, cool. Do you have any international experience, like working at the study abroad office?
Yeah, so I do work here at the study abroad office. I see a lot of international students coming and going. It's really cool to be able to like experience them, especially in like outside clubs and stuff like that. Last spring, I traveled to Greece to study abroad. That was a really cool experience to just be able to experience life outside of the U.S. And just to learn from different cultures, and to like really just understand like a perspective outside of your own, and also like as well as teaching other cultures about your culture. I think that was a really cool experience.
That's cool. What is the most impressive thing about Greece?
Oh my gosh, definitely. I'd say they're islands. They are really nice. I went to Santorini during the spring, so it's kind of like vacant, which was really nice. Kind of like having a island to yourself. But also, I think just the fact that they're so family oriented. Everybody's like so connected. Like they were very welcoming when I first got there. And just to be able to experience that kind of like love from strangers was honestly like pretty amazing.
So how do you see like people there then gender roles different from the state, especially in the Midwest?
Oh yeah, it's very different. One thing about Greeks, like they're very blunt, so they like to say whatever's on their mind. I actually had a few conversations with like some adults, like at my school, just learning about like this type of stuff they believe in. They do think the United States is very like progressive or liberal, as some people might say. So they're very old-fashioned or more conservative. But I did learn that like they do value that family like dynamic. So like Abbie was saying, like death do us part, like that's something that's very foundationally strong in their culture. So
Do you think, like, in the Western history, for example, those Greek myth and everything has something to do in their values in terms of their family or culture?
absolutely. I was so fascinated with learning about the kind of Greek mythology, just understanding like the kind of dynamics that went on, especially during that time. I could say that their roles were a lot different than they were in like present day Greece. Because they believed in different like sexualities and women like being praised in certain areas because they had beliefs in what's her name? Aphrodite, one of the female gods who produced the olive tree.
Hera.
So there's a lot of I feel like it was more fluid back then, so it wasn't as much like as standard or strict as you might say. But just seeing how like they've kind of advanced and became more I don't know. I don't know how to say that, but just seeing kind of how they've changed through time has really been cool.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those female gods in the Greek myth, they're about like family roles, like Hera and stuff. And then also they have like crazy women like Medea's revenge. And also some females' role are depicted. Siren, like in Odyssey, the one saying,
Medusa's story is basically any person she looks at, she can turn into stone. And not to get into details, but this basically all happened to her because a Greek god assaulted her, and then she got that curse. So it's just crazy that, like, even in ancient history, there's just depictions of those certain things.
yeah, and then they also have the smart one, like Athena. And it's crazy to see how those people, maybe it's from 3,000 years ago, how the society, even the world, like progressed too.
I was also thinking about Cleopatra. She was an ancient queen in Egypt, and the way, like, the Egyptians praised her. Even now, you can still see drawings of her, and, you know, you have the pyramids. They see oftentimes, I know that they often, like, worship Cleopatra because, you know, she was a goddess. But it's also, like, she had her husband, who was also a king, and her followers also followed him as well, but they also still had love for Cleopatra separately.
Yeah,
I guess that kind of goes back and forth because even though, like, you have equal power, you love each other and you know, stay together.
Yeah, I was also gonna say it was very balanced. They believe in a balanced marriage and like a balanced relationship. And I feel like now it's very unbalanced.
Why is that? Or how does the unbalanced culture affect teenagers, even adults' choice right now?
Especially in like, especially just in American culture in general. Like specifically talking about the Black community. A lot of us were like systematically split up, so it's kind of been hard to recover from that. But then on looking at both sides of the coin, there's a lot of like new trends of independent women and like different movements about, you know, women stepping away from men and like being an abstinence and all of that. Kind of like progressive like womanhood and like things with like the feminist movements and stuff is kind of, I feel like it's creating a divide between men and women. But I also feel like there is men that, you know, genuinely lack, you know, that masculinity nowadays to actually support a woman. So I feel like just altogether, a lot of our values are being shifted by social media and, you know, different cultures and things like that. So just going back to like what you know I feel like we all need to do that.
Yeah, social media is important to just critical thinking and everything, evaluating what you see online and in your phone. So from like international students' perspective, a lot of students or even their parents are kind of worried about they studying in the US because like when they see the news there are like all crazy things happening in the US. How would you explain those to those kids' parents?
Oh, yeah.
Like what's really happening here in the Midwest?
I definitely understand their perspective. Like America is very, like they say it's a melting pot. Like there's so much here. Like there's different ideologies, there's different, belief systems, there's different agendas and stuff. So it is pretty scary coming from a place where, there isn't as much freedom of expression, as you could say, as it is in America. So I definitely understand the fear. But it's also like a good thing because you can figure out a range of things that you're not, rather than figuring out like, okay, this is who I am specifically. There is a lot of things to try here, but again, just as long as your parents are instilling in you like those beliefs and those values, like I feel like it is kind of hard though, living here in America and not getting like influenced by American culture, whether that be music or lifestyle choices and stuff.
But yeah, it's when social media brought like those challenges, it also like opened the door for a lot of people to express themselves.
Okay, so do you think like the social media has changed or challenged traditional gender roles worldwide? If yes, how so?
Oh, yes. Like I said, like social media is so easy to use. Like you can look up, anything nowadays. So it's so easy, especially for kids, to be influenced because there's not a lot of restrictions on social media. So there's just like a lot of misinformation, but also just a lot of agendas and things. I feel like it does shift gender roles because there are a lot of like agendas that kind of pull you away from like the traditional roles, which isn't a bad thing, but it is just kind of like more broader now. So there's a lot of different choices, and a lot of people can get confused about these choices maybe because like those values weren't instilled as a kid. So it's like a kid in a candy store, without the parent there. Like there's a lot of options. So it's kind of just hard to sort through all that and know like what is true and what isn't and stuff.
And what do you guys think about gender or specifically women's image in pop culture, like in movie or music today?
It upsets me a lot, just hearing some of the verses that are often being said. In modern day music, it's just almost degrading to women. It's almost just like you don't value that we are also human as well as you. You think, not saying all men have this idea, but a lot of men think that they are higher in women. Hence why we have things like the divide on pay or women who are in male-dominant fields and, they don't take her seriously. It's sad what the value of a woman is being portrayed as in music. Rather, there's not enough music that's really lifting women up nowadays. It's more just, I think we normalized it and kind of like twisted it into our favor in a way. I think that now some of the songs that we're coming out with are, how do I say this? Provocative. But I also think that we've just been okay with that for a long time, that we've just kind of embraced it, if that makes sense. When it's not something we should be embracing, it's something we should be actively trying to change. But some people, like that music. Some people think that that's a way of empowerment, is making those songs. And other people, it also comes to play about, how you were raised. If you were raised, in a, let's say, a conservative household, you're typically not going to want to listen to that music. Not saying that politics have a play in that. It's just more of a preference. It's what you believe in, what you value.
I'm definitely going to say I've talked about this topic a lot because I just feel like the women community nowadays, like we're not winning. We're struggling a little bit. I think honestly a lot of people don't have shame anymore, or also not being shamed, but at the same time like cancel culture is a big thing. But I feel like cancel culture is not canceling the right thing. So it's like we're allowing, women to degrade themselves, and they're allowing men to call them look back 10 years, people were killed over these titles, and I don't understand the celebration of female exploitation. I feel like it's one thing to like love yourself like truly inside and out, but I also think there's a fine line of where, you know, because sex sells, it does, but just like self-respect, like I feel like a lot of women are lacking self-respect. Yeah.
In the Bible, it says that women are supposed to be the missing rib.
Amen.
Men are actively supposed to seek out the woman that they want and actively supposed to pursue her every single day. There's not enough men like that in this world, and it's sad that even just like we as women have to raise our voices just to be heard in some manner, to be respected. Even now, just with everything going on a couple weeks ago, it's just sad that you would think that the United States is supposed to be progressive and all women's rights and equal rights and all these things, and just to see something like that happen, I mean, it really, really deters everybody's confidence.
It's a long way to go everywhere in the world. So specifically for future like international students that coming to the States, what do you think are the biggest cultural adjustment around gender norms?
I'm gonna leave this to you, Erika.
Oh, this is a tough one because it honestly, like you said, it depends where you're from, but it also depends on if you're pursuing a relationship with somebody who's in the United States, where they're from, because that kind of like defines a lot, unfortunately. I think you just have to be able to adapt, but also like don't let up on your traditional values, because a lot of our values honestly are not that great. So I just say like listen to your heart and listen to your mind. But also just be open to understanding the type of man or the type of woman that you're looking for in the United States, and just seeing if they match up with those core values that you have.
Any of you face any personal challenges navigating gender expectations? If yes, how?
Well, I'll just talk about like the way I grew up. I come from very conservative places, so I do have a lot of conservative values kind of instilled in me. But at the same time, I was raised by an independent woman, but also an independent man, which is kind of hard seeing like them combat each other, because it's like if you have a man that wants to take care of you, but you also have a woman that wants to take care of herself, like it doesn't really work that well. So it kind of just taught me about like my own personal values and what I would want in a relationship for it to be equal. I was kind of influenced by like Greek culture and like she was saying Egyptian culture, and just seeing how like love is supposed to be a balance. So it's not necessarily 50-50, it's more like 100-100. Just actually being there for your partner, but also just respecting the fact that like me personally, I feel like a man should lead. So as a woman, I have to follow his lead. And I feel like it's been really challenging in our generation, in our society, because a lot of men don't want to actually lead. You know, they want to be chased. So it's really hard to not be influenced by the feminist culture, because it's like, I see what you're saying, you know. But just I also know I have to stick to my values, because it's like it's really important for me to choose the type of man that I really want for myself and my children. So
Talking about family, like in China, if you are 30 and then you are not married, you're a leftover woman.
oh man,
Yes, but it's kind of hard to just like communicate those gap within even within the family, not like generation or gender gap that big.
yeah, and it's especially different because your parents came from a different time, so it's like that was their expectation. But now we're in our generation, so our expectations are a lot different, and sometimes it's hard because I feel like I'm letting my parents down if I'm not married by a certain age, or if I don't have kids by a certain age. Like, does that make me less of a woman? Like, no, but unfortunately, their generation kind of has instilled those ideas in our head, thinking that we have to get married, we have to do this by a certain age, or like we're useless. And I feel like a lot of women feel that deeply, so that's why there are a lot of 40, 50-year-old single women here, because I feel like honestly they hear that so much, and they feel all this pressure by those like expectations. Sometimes it drives us off a cliff. Yeah.
Is there anything, movies or anything that you want to share?
I rewatched all the Harry Potter movies. All of them, all 7 in a week. It was worth it. Modern Family is really good too. It kind of also talks about blended families as well. If you haven't seen that, watch it. It's really good. Love Gloria. And yeah.
What other movies do I like? Oh, The Boy That Harnessed the Wind. I love that one. It's a really good movie. And 911. I'm watching that show like religiously right now. It is so sad, but it's so good.
Watch Twilight.
Oh, and The Wiz. Oh my goodness.
Oh my
The
God,
Wiz is
I
such
love
a
that
classic.
movie.
I love it. Michael Jackson. Ugh. Yes.
What kind of music do you guys listen to?
Ooh, everything but heavy metal.
We're very different.
Okay, so top 3 artists.
Oh,
Well, I mean, we have some other talk.
I would say Nas. He's a rapper.
Okay.
This is hard. This is really hard.
I'm really-
Probably Mary. She's a gospel singer. And Mary J. Blige. Yeah.
I would say Al Green, The Beatles, and Tyler, the Creator. My family has definitely influenced my music taste. Mm-hmm. I'd say I grew up listening to 50s, 60s, 70s music. I actually have a jukebox on my arm for my grandma. She had actually had the jukebox player and it played records, and then we spent a lot of our time in her basement. And then as I grew older, I think music definitely, it went from 80s to 90s. I like rock music. Like, I just grown to like so many things, like very different genres. And it's just nice to like have that experience of just having that music taste. It's very eccentric. I'm actually very proud of it.
Do you see any global trends in how gender roles are
Oh
evolving?
my gosh.
Global trend?
Or is there anything that the U.S. should learn from other cultures?
Oh yeah, of
Oh.
course. Let's start
okay.
let's start with the women. I think I love how different cultures kind of like treat women like maybe like you guys value your femininity. So you know that it's not something that you just like throw away or flaunt. Like you guys are very conservative. And I think a lot of us women can learn from that. I also like how you're family oriented. It's very different because it's so different between each country, but it's kind of everybody else I feel like has the same values besides the US. What is wrong with us? But yeah, just like very family oriented. Like I feel like a lot of other countries, strive to have motherhood. And that's like something to be celebrated, not like demeaning as it is like seen as in the US. Unfortunately, because, womanhood is like motherhood is something that should be cherished and should be celebrated. And I think for the men, especially in the U.S., definitely just like seeing how like masculinity is kind of more like assertive in other countries. A lot of men in different countries, they'll actually pursue women rather than chasing them because they know that that's kind of like their natural instinct to do as a man. And like providing for their families, actually being there.
I think across the board, everybody is different. Like I'm kind of looking at the map that's over here with us, and I'm like identifying all the countries and trying to think of base knowledge of what I know. And for the most part, all the way around the world, I feel like marriage is somewhat important in some countries.
Thank you for Erika and Abby joining our Global Voice podcast today. And then we learned a lot about how woman is represented in today's pop culture, and then how college students, especially international students coming from another countries, can navigate their study and life here in the US. Thank you so much. See you next time.